Shoot, I should change my shirt, shouldn't I?
Probably.
Hey, hi, hello friends, and welcome back to another video. I am Em, and I read books. And today we are going to be talking about my 2021 most anticipated books. Now, admittedly, this is only the books that I know of. Basically, I did a little bit of a small search on Goodreads, so this is like my books that are anticipated that are coming out within the next 6 months. But there's still a lot of them, and we're still going to talk about them, so here we go. First is The Echo Wife by Sarah Gailey. And this is about a woman who is genetically cloned, and this genetic clone is having an affair with the husband of the original. And the husband shows up dead. So now the two women have a big mess to clean up. And I assume that it's going to be a mystery trying to figure out who killed him, who can we trust, probably a little bit on the morals of like genetic cloning. And I've really enjoyed all of Sarah Gailey's works, so I really think I'm gonna like this one. Next is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. In my opinion, Riley Sager's works have only been getting better and better as time goes on. And this one is set in the 90s because honestly, there's nothing more sort of stressful than, you know, being in the woods and it's the 1990s so you don't have a cell phone, right? Everything was so much more stressful in horror movies back before there was technology. So this follows Charlie, who's bumming a ride back to Ohio with a guy named Josh. And as the ride progresses, she begins to think that Josh, who she's riding with, may be the campus killer, who has claimed already 3 victims on their quad. And this is going to be super stressful. It sounds like No Exit, which you all should know. I loved that book. And I feel like having the Riley Sager twist on it will only make it better. So I will say there is a recurring theme to my most anticipated reads, and it's that I have been rejected for almost all of them on NetGalley. This next book is Finley Donovan is Killing It by Elle Cosimano. And the plot of this is just hilarious. We're following Finley Donovan, who is a writer who's sort of struggling to write her next book, and her personal life is just in ruin. And what happens is she's describing her new book to her agent on the phone. Someone overhears her and they mistake her for a contract killer, and she accidentally accepts an offer to get rid of someone's husband. From what it sounds like, she's actually gonna do it, and I just can't. I'm so excited to read this book. Next is Hairpin Bridge by Taylor Adams. So this is the same Taylor Adams that wrote No Exit, which I loved. And so this follows a girl named Lena who doesn't believe that her twin sister Cambry actually killed herself. And this all sort of focuses on a certain bridge called Hairpin Bridge. And there is a police officer named Raymond who has agreed to meet Lena at the bridge. But things in his story aren't adding up. She gets suspicious, and it's going to turn into a basical, that's not even a word. It's going to turn into a fight for her life. And it all just sounds so just exciting. I can't put it into words. It's just like those goosebumps that you get when you hear about a plot that makes you go, woo. Next is Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, which is the sequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Pip releases a podcast based on her capstone project that solved a murder, and it goes viral. And she keeps saying that she's not a detective anymore, but when someone that she knows goes missing, she's gonna be putting that hat on again. And this time, everyone is listening to her podcast. So I think that might be playing us a little role in this. Next is The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson. So this is the 4th book in the Truly Devious series. Now, in the first three, we solve the truly devious murders. And so I believe that this is going to begin a second trilogy. And so our favorite detective, Stevie, is going to be going to a camp to solve the Box in the Woods murders from the 1970s. And once again, Stevie is going to have to solve a cold case from the past before a real killer catches up with her in the present. So good! Next is Rise to the Sun by Leah Johnson, and this is about two girls who meet at a music festival, one of which is grieving her lost father, the other who is a hopeless romantic who is just feeling like she'll never find who she belongs with. And they meet, they begin to bond, and something is gonna go horribly wrong at this festival, and they need each other to get out of it. Next is The X Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. And so this is about Shay and Dominic, two people who work at a Seattle public radio station, and they can't stand each other. But they do have an idea for a podcast where they have two exes come in and deliver relationship advice live on air. But Shay and Dominic on the air have to pretend like they like each other. And as time goes on and this podcast gets more popular, this deception might not be so much of a lie. They're gonna fall in love. We know they're gonna fall in love, and I'm really excited. Next is Bridge of Souls by V.E. Schwab, and we're going to be following Cassidy Blake as she goes to New Orleans, one of the most haunted cities in the world. But in New Orleans, Cass is going to face a servant of death. And I don't know what that means, but it's terrifying, and Schwab, why are you doing this to me? Next in the series of books I requested on NetGalley but was rejected for is Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. And I love that this is based off of or at least the title. It comes from the Police song, Every Breath You Take. And this follows a woman named Abigail who on her bachelorette weekend ends up having a one-night stand with someone. And this someone turns out to be a psychopathic stalker. And she knows that in her heart that she wants to marry her fiance, Bryce, her fiance, Bruce. But this is getting in the way, and she needs to know, should she tell him? And she starts seeing a terrified woman in the night also, and no one seems to believe her. So this is definitely going to be a psychological thriller. There's going to be a lot to unpack here. I'm really excited because Peter Swanson wrote 8 Perfect Murders, which I really enjoyed. And I think that he is going to deliver again. Next is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. So Andy Weir wrote The Martian, which I loved. He also wrote Artemis, which I didn't love as much because I thought it was going to be like The Martian. But now I am setting all of my assumptions aside, and this is a clean slate. So this is about Ryland Grace, a man who wakes up after a mission in space to find that he's the sole survivor. But he is millions of miles from home, he can't remember his own name, and to make matters worse, there's an extinction level threat to humanity coming. Next is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, whose name I still don't know how to pronounce. I'm doing my best. If you know how to pronounce it, let me know. So this is about a man named Edward Fosca who has founded a female-only secret society called the Maidens. And obviously that is super sketchy. And so we follow Mariana, who is a therapist who becomes obsessed with Edward Fosca. And she is fixated on the idea that he killed her niece's friend at university. And so she is determined to stop him from killing again, but at what cost? If you read his first book, or at least his last book, The Silent Patient, you'll understand how he paints his narrators and how they can become obsessed and unhinged, and it's very interesting. And last is The Last Graduate by Naomi Novik. And so this is the second book in the Scholomance series, and this is going to focus on Elle and Orion's senior year, and they're determined to make it out of the Scholomance alive, but we'll see how that goes. That is my 2021 most anticipated reads, at least for the next 6 months. We'll see if I make another video like this later. But let me know what your most anticipated reads for 2021 are, if any of them overlap with mine, or, you know, you have some that you think that I would love. Let me know. And as always, keep reading.